Before I come to the politicians, I'll start with you, Amod Kant, if I may. Because the police role is under scrutiny again. The students are not happy with the police. They say the local beat constables want vasuli. All the cops knew that there were illegal basements running there. They say the police is trying to break up the protest today. Today, we actually saw clashes between students and the police. The police tried to clear the area, and the students said, "Ye zabardasti kar rahe hain." They also say that police knew there were more bodies. I don't know if this is true, but each student is saying this. How do you think the police has handled the issue so far? Amoji.
Thank you, Barkha. Barkha, all you guys have always accepted me in both my roles. I mean, as a ex-police officer and my, let's say, social work, whatever I am doing, civil society presenter.
Yes,
so now it appears to me that you have used a couple of words. Number one, somebody wrote criminal negligence here. And you said culpable homicide, that is not amounting to murder. That's another kind of description. See what happens that in the entire situation, if you start with the role of police, the police will have to first of all define the severity of the crime. And while they register FIR itself, I have no idea under what sections they have done so. But then it could be culpable homicide not amounting to murder. The second part, which I agree with you. Although it's very difficult to pinpoint the culpability in this case. But then looking at the circumstances, the location itself, I mean, the basement, as we know that under the MCD guidelines and MCD, it's very clear that this particular kind of use of basement was not at all permissible. Although, as you know, that lawyers and doctors are allowed to function from the basement. Some kind of educational programs also are allowed to be carried out in the basement. Library, perhaps, and all the items concerning a study circle could be from the basement. But this kind of use that was put to decidedly was not permissible from this kind of basement. And so, obviously, the Royal Study Circle, to start with, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, and the other authorities who are connected with the licenses and any kind of permissions, they are supposed to be accounted for the entire thing. That is one. But going back to your point about police, because I can think of it. First point I said already that the police will have to take the call to decide whether it was criminal negligence not amounting to murder or whatever, or it's culpableness and not amounting to murder. And secondly, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised about it that if somebody said 8 dead bodies, in my opinion, it's very, very difficult to conceal the 5 dead bodies. It would not be possible to conceal 5 dead bodies. It has to be in public domain, everything. You know very well that during my entire career, I believed and I felt very comfortable dealing with these situations in presence of public, in presence of witnesses. It's much easier. So why should police conceal anything? They should not, in my opinion, because there is nothing to conceal actually. I mean, the culpability of police.
So I think this suspicion around the exact number of dead comes down to a trust deficit. When a child loses his or her faith in the system, उनको लगता है कि सभी हमसे झूठ बोल रहे होंगे at this point. But Mudit, you have been writing about
yes. Just one point before you start. See the number of people. It is absolutely required that in a situation like this, the number of people, number of youngsters and the students who were there present, as per the records, as per the information, the number of those who died and the number of those who were rescued and those who are missing, that should be clearly brought out as a white paper. It should be brought out in public domain. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay. I think that is the point. The point is that nobody has actually clearly communicated, Mudit, that these are the number of people who were inside the basement, right? These are the number of people who were injured. And these are the number of people who have died. For instance, आज एक नया video निकला है, a chilling video, and I will play it with the sound up, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. You can see the water gushing in the basement, and you can hear one man saying, "Abhi bhi 5 log hain andar." This is right at the end when the pani is coming in. I'm just trying to explain why the students are feeling the way they do. Let's take a look at this new horrific video that has surfaced.
हो गया भाई।
So it's horrible to watch, and it's just like 10-second clip, but you can hear the man clearly say कि 5 लोग हैं अंदर, right, Mudit? And now I'll play out one other clip of Abhishek, the friend of Nevin, because I asked him what Mr. Amod Khan just said. कि आपको लगता नहीं कि अगर और लोग होते, बच्चे होते अंदर, तो their families would have come forward by now. Please take a look at what he said.
तो जो हॉस्पिटल में पुलिस ऑफिसर बच्चों को मिला, उसने बोला there are 8 bodies.
Yes. Remember, but I very well remember that he said that there are 8 bodies, and I don't know if it's a mistake, it's a miscommunication or what, but I don't think so. Being at that position, being the SI there, he should have said there are 8 bodies.
But अगर अभी तक कुछ बॉडीज अनट्रेस्ड होती तो उनकी आई एम थिंकिंग कि उनके फैमिली मेंबर्स तो आगे आके बोलते हैं हमारे बच्चे मिसिंग हैं, अभी तक हमें ऐसी कोई जानकारी नहीं मिली.
So I heard it. One of the family was outside they were looking for their child. ये मुझे सुनने में आया. And again जो मैंने आपसे बोला कि there were 8 bodies. I even shared it with my family and they said कि बता रहे हैं मीडिया में भी कि 8 बॉडीज हैं, बट 5 हैव बीन रिकवर्ड एंड देयर आर 3 कैजुअलिटीज
और बाकी 2 हॉस्पिटल में हैं.
हाँ, देयर
इंजर्ड 5 लोग निकाले गए हैं.
इंजर्ड टोटल मुझे 12 पता चला था.
अच्छा.
बच्चों से कि देयर आर टोटल 12 दोज हु आर इंजर्ड. सो आई डोंट नो, बट द पुलिस ऑफिसर सेड दैट देयर आर 8 bodies. He would have said that there are 8 injured people. They would have said कुछ भी उसके बाद, but saying in that position, saying the word body tells us everything.
And he said this to you directly.
Exactly.
Now this is the point, right? There is a young boy. He goes to look for his best friend at a hospital. He discovers at that hospital that his friend has died. The sub-inspector at the hospital, Muditji, then tells him that 8 bodies are under. His information is that 12 people were injured. There were 7 ambulances at the site. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm just repeating what the children are saying to me. I was not there that night. I don't know. Maybe they are traumatized. Maybe they are recounting it incorrectly. I have no idea. That is my disclaimer. But this is what they're saying. They're saying wo injured jo the, wo kahan gaye? Unka kya hua? What happened inside the hospital? I agree with Mr. Amod Kant, and I ask Abhishek that question, that if there were actually more deaths, families would have come forward by now. But I also take Abhishek's point that if there were more injured kids that night, we have not had an update, at least not that I know of, from the hospital ki kya hua. So Muditji, why is there this suspicion now among the children over exactly how many children have perished that night? And God forbid, I hope they are wrong and it's only the 3 we know, though 1 life lost is too many lives lost.
So it's not just 3 lives lost. To put things into perspective, just 1 week before this tragic instance, 1 student died in Patel Nagar due to electrocution. And also around that time itself, a girl committed suicide in a PG of Old Rajendra Nagar with a suicide note claiming that the brokers and the landowners have harassed her and there are other problems too. And she committed suicide in Rajendra Nagar. So I would see it as 5 deaths in all in the matter of last 15 days, in the matter of last 1 fortnight. And to just put things into perspective, I believe it's not just one issue about flooding of a basement. As soon as an aspirant steps into, be it Mukherjee Nagar, Rajendra Nagar, Lakshmi Nagar, Shadipur Depot, Shalimar Bagh, or any of the educational hubs, he is faced with a 3-front war. The first front is with the government and the NCD. हमें नहीं पता कि कहां पे पोल का जो तार है, that is a naked wire. Electrocution happened because of that. ऊपर हम देखते हैं, जो हम फिजिक्स में यूजुअली डायग्राम्स पढ़ते थे इलेक्ट्रिक वायर्स के, हमारे को ऊपर देखने पे वो ऐसे हेवी वायर्स दिखते हैं इन ऑल द लोकेलिटीज इंक्लूडिंग मुखर्जी नगर एंड राजेंद्र नगर. इवन द पिक्चर्स दैट आर बीइंग डिस्प्लेड, यू कैन सी हेवी नेकेड वायर्स दैट आर बीइंग देयर. Secondly, of course, the flooding issue and the entire waterlogging issue. The third most important issue is about the structures. If you look at the buildings in Mukherjee Nagar, Rajendra Nagar, Lakshmi Nagar, those buildings are such that Delhi lies in seismic zone 4. Even the mildest of the tremors can lead to some sort of structural damage, and students can be trapped there also. Apart from that, monsoon is going on. Students have shared pictures with me wherein there is massive seepage and leakage in their rooms, and they are paying 20,000 rupees per month for that room. And those ceilings can fall anytime. So, our focus on just flooding of basements is one very microscopic problem that an aspirant is facing amidst all the problems that he or she is suffering.
No, we have an image of the exposed wires on our screen. This is from this morning, by the way. This is from this morning. ये आज की तस्वीर मैं आपको दिखा रही हूं. ये आप देखिए, ये आज की तस्वीर है. इतना शोर होने के बाद, these are the wires, right? And I take your point, Mudit, that it's not, we can't see these 3 deaths in isolation. But why is there a controversy over the death count in the mind of the children? Are they traumatized? Are they suspicious? Is it a trust deficit? How should the government respond? Should there be clearer communication?
The trust deficit comes from the view that neither the administration of the coaching institute nor the authorities have come clear and issued any public statement as to what exactly transpired on the unfortunate night, what happened, where are the CCTV footages, how the water entered, how students rescued themselves from there. And even for a minor instance, for example, let me just put it this way, that when it came to that black SUV passing through the Rao's building, administration immediately issued a CCTV footage that, okay, look at this car triggered floods into the basement. So what stops them from issuing the CCTV footages of the basement and the areas around that what exactly transpired? And this dichotomy, this lack of connection of dots is leading to suspicion in the minds of the students, that they are being convenient and filtered with what they're issuing and what they're hiding.
I think that's a very important point, because in fact the children, every child I've spoken to has repeatedly said, show us the CCTV footage, issue a statement, tell us what happened in hospital that time. And I think after what they've gone through, they have a right to ask that question. Now, before the 2 politicians take over, Padma, let me just bring you in, because I think once the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP argue, a lot of us will have to step back. So Padma, do go ahead. Padma.
First of all, we are masters. We are masters at lip service. Many grand schemes launched, skilling programs, this, that, and the other, with scant follow-ups. Even as you were interviewing this boy yesterday, even as students were sitting there and protesting, the Ministry of Education, and this is really very, what they think is very skillful timing, announced a grand launch of a national apprenticeship and training program, Scheme 2.0 portal or something like that yesterday. So this is, pure and nothing but lip service. We have failed at every level, as Amoji was pointing out, as the other young person was pointing out. Then the second thing I fail to understand is the sense of secrecy and reluctance to speak to the public. I mean, for heaven's sake, this is a public tragedy, and the police, the hospital, the MCD, in any civilized country of the world, for a tragedy of this magnitude, you would have spokespersons of all these departments coming out to give the public regular updates. And thirdly, I'm really sickened to the gut with the kind of politicking that's going on even at a moment like this. I have seen nothing and heard nothing except one party blaming the other, the Aam Aadmi blaming the BJP blaming the Aam Aadmi, the Congress playing politics on all sides, even over a tragedy like this, which our politicians, which all successive governments have created for over the past 75 years. Barkha, nothing has changed. The series of disasters, the NEET paper leak, the electrocution of the drowning, this drowning, these are cumulative results of a series of failures at every level. We have failed. Our lawmakers have failed. Our law enforcers have failed. But even the private sector has failed. And this is not just Delhi. This is every town and city. Kota, Mumbai, Delhi, wherever. And each failure is marked by greed for power to control the education system, its institutions, its curricula, greed for money paid by these poor students and their families taking loans, greed for bribes paid by coaching centers and other law violators, and worst of all, complete indifference amongst our polity to the future of what every international forum is praising India for. Our bright students and our, the power of our youth and the power of their brains, the youthful India. This is what the entire world is praising us for. I'm ashamed. I really want to hang my head in shame. And the simple breakdown of how and why: to build a basement, you need permission. It's granted under certain rules pertaining to usage and under assurances from certain departments like waterworks. All these are government controlled. This is such a multi-layered process, and dare I say, intentionally so that there's plenty of room to turn a blind eye here and blind eye there and make a buck. So violations both by builders in the private sector and small-time officials in the public sector. Then to use a basement in any which way, as Amoji was pointing out, permissions have to be applied for. Again, a chance to turn a blind eye. To run a coaching center, almost certainly, I'm sure it requires a cap on the number of students given the size of the premises, etc., etc. Again, plenty of room for violation, both by government officials and in this case, also by us. So now, we desperately need those jobs. We need that training. So we pay and take the risk. Why we need those jobs, we'll speak about that soon. But for now, this is my immediate reaction.
I think, Barkha, you have to divide this entire issue in 2-3 parts. Number one, it's heartbreaking, completely heartbreaking to hear that young boy. And 2 lakh students, I believe, they happen to be in Delhi for this kind of coaching. I have hundreds of opportunities to go and address and go and talk to them. Recently also, I was conducting interviews for these UPSC aspirants. Now, the issue is that the conditions are miserable. There's no doubt about it. And Rao Study Circle or any study circle, their objective is decidedly entirely commercial. And they're doing it and everything, keeping in view their commercial interest. And wherever they have a space, they use it. And basements are being used illegally, as I mentioned right in the beginning. So basically, but then still it is not appropriate to put the entire blame at the doorsteps of Rao Study Circle or others. I have worked in the system. Perhaps amongst all these people present here, I think probably I have worked in the system longest and almost every part of it. Now, let me clarify that somehow, like Delhi Jal Board. One time I have worked partly with Delhi Jal Board also. And then I was looking after vigilance of Delhi Jal Board, and I had the opportunity to go into the water and sewage supply system. As you know, they were together. The water and sewage in Delhi has been all with Delhi Jal Board for decades and decades. I think hundreds of crores have been spent on this entire system of sewage system, cleaning it, desilting it, or correcting it, but nothing has happened. Here, it is not an issue what Aam Aadmi Party is trying to say, that if they had the authority, and let's say the entire authority was taken away from the bureaucrats to, let's say, the government and the ministers and the MLAs, or perhaps the councillors, will system improve? See, all these have been tested in Delhi. 50 years now, I have been looking after this system. So that is one part of it. And the concerned authorities, including police, for example, many a times the police has to give clearance. Many a times the police comes in picture, not always. But wherever the police comes in picture, MCD comes in picture, Delhi Jal Board comes in picture, sewage authorities come in picture. No, there we find that somehow this city, the governance of the city and the planning of the city has always been at a very peculiar situation. The kind of money which has gone into Delhi's planning and implementation of these projects is nobody's business, but somehow it never happens. Desilting process, and this kind of situation being created on account of waterlogging, on account of drainage being clogged. This is all part of it. So it's very difficult to pinpoint one particular department, one particular agency, but decidedly, ultimately,
do you believe the students should be allowed to protest peacefully? Because I feel that's the least we owe them. But मैं आपके लिए clip play करना चाहती हूँ. Today, the students are saying, some of them are on hunger strike, and they are saying we are being forcibly cleared by the police. The pictures right now on the screen are from earlier, where too they allege that police used excessive force. But even today, they say some of us have been detained. Take a look at just this short clip of what the students are saying.
किसी ने हमारे जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव किसी ने बोला है कि प्रोटेस्ट इन आप खुद से बोल रहे कि प्रोटेस्ट
हमारा डेलीगेशन मिलने गया और आपने पीछे से आके हटा दिया।
आने नहीं दे रहे हैं। चलिए हम लोग बैठ सकते हैं ना, हम लोग को आगे बैठने नहीं दिया जा रहा है। आगे चलिए।
और एसपी सर ने भी बोल दिया कि आ जाओ चल लेंगे बस में, आ जाओ।
So they were taken away in a bus where they were protesting emoji. That site has been cleared. They have now gone to another bazaar and sat in the bazaar. They were right opposite Rao's. Why should they be cleared from there? Why do they not have the right to peaceful protest?
Tell you from civil society's angle, from police angle, whatever, that the anguish being expressed by these youngsters is entirely in place. They have no other way to go about it. The only point I can say, I mean, if you look at the police point of view, I think the commissioner of police should really hold a proper press conference and then define the entire situation right in the beginning. These small doubts about missing persons, who died, how many left. I mean, I think it's silly. I think the police should explain all these things very clearly. I don't think really that the police is much to blame except these parts. And now
the poor communication and looking like the unfriendly face of the state when the rest of the state is not coming forward. As Gitanjali says, the police is the public servant. Why is it often the case that they should be unapproachable? One should feel safe around the police.